Battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we've got Kevin Wilson with us.
Hello.
Hey Kevin, how's it going?
Oh, good. You know, just hanging out on the phone today, just making the technology work the way we can.
We got the show must go on.
Yes.
But speaking of the show, I do want to thank all of our listeners for joining us on the show, on the radio waves, on the podcasts, on the various live streams. And I do want to say, if you enjoy listening to Radio Free New York, however you listen to it, I would ask that you guys do a couple things to help support the show. One thing you can do is jump over on Facebook, search Andrew C. Hollister, hit a like on that page, search Radio Free New York, hit a like on that page, and then also head over to YouTube, search Andrew C. Hollister, and subscribe to that page. The more YouTube subscribers we get, the more YouTube pushes our content out there on their platform. Same thing with Facebook. And if you think more people should be hearing the things that we're talking about and having these type of conversations, that support helps. The other thing that would definitely help us is if you guys jump over on Patreon. So that's patreon.com/RFNY. And consider making a small monthly contribution towards the content. That way that helps us continue staying on the airwaves.
And Andrew, one more thing, of course. If anyone listening here is like, you know what, I want to make sure that my business is supporting Radio Free New York, you can always call us and advertise as well. That's definitely helpful too. And show your support for Radio Free New York, and make sure that you're connecting with those listeners too on our station.
Yeah, absolutely. So. We have quite a broad base of listeners, both on the radio and online. And if you want to reach those people while supporting what I think is a pretty good radio show, definitely reach out to us. We'd love to have your support and help you connect to our other listeners as well. So right. Speaking of this awesome and great content, I'll give you actually a chance before we break into the topics today. Yesterday we talked about the Joe Morelli incident that's going on. I know a little bit more information popped up today. Kevin, do you have anything you want to contribute to the conversation about that specific topic? It's okay if you don't, but I figured I'd give you the chance.
Well, yeah, I mean, like listeners might know, I'm not totally neutral on this because I'm running for office. It's really interesting. I think part of this and is going to end up coming off as like an intra-party fight. I think Lovely Warren kind of went for the jugular and is trying to take out Joe Morelli. But I think there might be something to this, and I'm interested to see what the House Ethics Committee. I don't know if I'm getting the right name for it, but I want to see the Office of Congressional Ethics is what it's called. I want to see what they say about this, because it does look like Joe Morelli did reach out and he said like, hey, is this type of thing okay? He reached out to someone's boss. It's maybe not the nicest thing to do. He didn't really need to butt in personally on this, because someone went on his opponent's like Facebook page and talked about their work. I don't know if anything rises to the level of violating the ethics, but I'm curious to see what that office says. And, I think that Lovely Warren's take on this might have been a little bit over the top for a lot of people. And that's with my ear to the ground. That's what I'm seeing a bit of is that people are like, oh, well, she's not neutral in this. She's trying to gain power for the old Gantt machine.
Yeah, yeah,
But
and I think that that's how people who are in the know and understand those
yeah,
factions in the Democratic Party. I think that's definitely,
well,
um,
yeah, like the political insider thing is like they're looking at it totally differently, and that's and I spend way too much time studying politics in Monroe County that like that's kind of how I see it.
yeah, yeah,
But at the end of the day, too, it's like, did Joe Morelli do the right thing? Did he threaten someone's job? Did he imply that like funding could be in jeopardy over this? I saw the text messages that came out. It kind of seems like he's just like, hey, just pointing it out here. And whenever a person in power makes those types of calls, there's always there's often more to it, right?
yeah.
It's not just a concerned citizen when your congressman who controls your funding is giving you a call about this type of thing.
Yeah, and I think that when because it looks like Joe Morelli himself released the text messages, I
Hmm.
think that he probably released them thinking, well, these seem pretty harmless to the average Joe, so we'll put these out here, and people go, oh, see, no, he just wanted to know what the policy was. But you're totally
Hmm.
right, because if you look at it, even from like a work relationship, say you're somebody's supervisor and the owner of the company who controls your department's funding shoots you a text and just says, "Hey, just thought you should know about this." And it's like, a Facebook post or something like that of one of your employees. You
Yeah.
feel the pressure as that supervisor that, oh, I need to look into this. Like, I need to see what's going on. Even if it wasn't spoken, it's kind of implied.
Yeah. So, and I think you really hit it yesterday. I mean, we've talked about this other times before too. Like how much power government officials have in these situations. It's a lot. So even just like the slight word or implication can have a lot of repercussions. And I think like the bigger issue isn't even just what Joe Morelli did. It's how do we make sure that like organizations aren't so dependent on the federal government that like a bad mood from or a concern from an elected official isn't enough to like jeopardize uh, funding for an organization that could be really critical.
Yeah, yeah. So in your opinion, Kevin, I mean, how do we fix this? How do we get government, um, I don't want to say watered down or weakened to the point, but how do we get government to the point where people shouldn't be in fear of how their government officials may feel about an independent situation?
Yeah, I think this is something that applies to both like private companies, to local governments, universities, state governments too. It's just that the federal government is able to control a lot of stuff and a lot of behavior through money, right? And so like local governments feel compelled to do this whenever they get a grant. Like, well, if we don't comply with these terms of this grant, then we're going to lose this money and we need this money. The education system is especially bad in this way because they say, well, if we don't comply with what Common Core tells us, even though we know it's not the best thing for our students in this particular situation, then we lose all of this other funding, and we've become so dependent on that we can now no longer, operate successfully in any capacity. So it's going to take a very long time to kind of untangle some of those threads to say like, okay, like some money may just need to have less strings attached, and I'm not super comfortable with that. And sometimes we just need to find greater financial independence among these systems because you get more resiliency when you have financially independent local governments, state governments, education systems, and universities. And becoming too dependent on a single entity like the federal government, which when you have, especially when you have like an executive branch or bureaucratic agencies that can change things on a whim, it becomes really dangerous to make them mad. So building that financial independence across all of these systems is incredibly important, and it's going to take some good budgeting, some bravery, and pulling back the state in all these areas.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a great example for that is, for both parents and children to look at. And when I say children, I don't mean like young people who are living at home. I mean independent children who are now out in the world living as independent adults when, maybe the parent still pays for your cell phone bill or your car insurance is still on your parent's plan. Um, and then they have that. They can dangle it over here. Well, you know what? Maybe you need to pay for your bills. Maybe you need to do this and that. And vice versa. The parent, they feel that power and that leverage that they have over their children, where they can say, yeah, you know what, they're making me angry, they're pissing me off. You know what? Let's why are we paying for their bills? Why are we covering their cell phone bill? Why are we covering their car insurance? Or, insert thing here, whatever it may be.
Yeah, something to hold over your head.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is exactly what's happening with government. And everybody should be asking themselves, do we want to be in that situation where government is pulling the strings and dangling these financial means above private entities' heads, and have the ability to yank that funding if they're not complying with somebody's specific, could even be personal concerns for their personal gain? And I think the answer is no. We need to get rid of that. It's a terrible, terrible thing, and it's got to go away.
Yeah, no, and I think that out of this Joe Morelli situation, that's the bigger lesson to learn. It's not necessarily like the politics of the situation that like a political types like to lean into and look into. It's how do we make sure that we have independence in these situations?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about alien DNA and having sex with witches. Yes, this is what we're talking about, and it's not even Fake News Friday. Guys, we'll talk about that when we come back on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Catch a wave at Waldameer.
Waterworld opens daily at 11 with a giant wave pool, water playgrounds, relaxing river, and exciting body and tube slides like the incredible new 6-lane Rally Racer. The Rally Racer is the longest, fastest slide in Waterworld. Come experience the excitement as you race your family and friends. And Waldameer opens at noon with a variety of thrill rides and family rides like the exciting new Whirlwind spinning coaster. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, Waldameer is limited to 50% capacity, so there's no free admission. Guests must purchase admission tickets at waldameer.com or at the park. Children under 1 are free. Face masks are required. So visit waldameer.com, purchase your admission tickets, and come have some fun.
Catch a wave, catch a day at Waldameer. Your wet and wild summer getaway. Excitement waits for you at Waldameer. Waldameer in Erie, PA.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We've got Kevin Wilson here with us, and I know if you're listening today, you're probably thinking, wait, Isn't Kevin normally with you on Tuesdays for the Talk of the Town? Yep, we did
Normally.
flip-flop on you guys this week. Today is Wednesday, just in case you're worried that you got your days mixed up, which can be kind of difficult with COVID, keeping track of all the days.
Yeah, I haven't been watching Andrew Cuomo's press conferences, so I don't know what day it is anymore.
yeah. So
Normally tells
if you
me.
if you missed the press conferences and you don't know what day of the week it is, don't worry, we've got you covered here on Radio Free New York. And on Radio Free New York today, we're talking about an interesting topic. We're going to talk about alien DNA and sex with witches. I saw this yesterday, like floating around, circulating through social media, and I, to be honest, had no idea what was being talked about. I didn't think it was going to be true. I thought we were going to be talking about this on maybe like Fake News Friday or something like this. But it turns out today on Wednesday, I guess we could call Wednesday Wacky and Wild Wednesday today. Kevin, why don't you just take it away? Fill us in. Why is this going all over Facebook?
Yeah, so I thought it was going to be fake news too, because I saw the stuff going around. My Facebook news feed is very, very strange right now. I mean, it's been very strange for a while now, but so here's where it's coming from. So there's a press conference that a set of doctors had in D.C. on Monday, I believe it was, in which these doctors talked about the use of, let me see if I can pronounce it right, hydroxychloroquine.
I think
I pronounced it right. So basically that medicine, that malaria medicine that people were talking about, that might be used for treating COVID-19, right?
Yep.
And this has become
Trump says that he's taking it and that his doctor said it's okay for him to take, right? That's been going on.
He went back on that though, and now he might take it again. I don't know. Like this whole thing, it frustrates the heck out of me because it's become so politicized, and no one's actually talking about. Few people are actually talking about the meds anymore, because you got the people on the left who are like, well, Trump said this thing, so like we can't trust that anymore, and like, why is Trump advocating for these dangerous theories? But there is some evidence early on to suggest that maybe it did have some promising effects in some folks, but there's some other studies now that suggest like, well, maybe not. It's not really all that helpful, and there are so many drawbacks for certain patients for it that maybe it's not worth the risks of using it. So the science is complicated and unclear. Let's just get out there.
And in addition to that, so we've got the science, which is kind of like one part of the story, but then the other part is people wanting to make emotional decisions not based on science. It's just like, oh, I don't like Trump, so therefore this must be wrong, or oh, I love Trump, so therefore this must be right, without any like regard for like medical information.
Yeah. So like, and that's how like a lot of your average folks, your average partisans out there who are looking at this situation, whether or not they think this is a good treatment is based on whether or not they support Trump. And that is not a good place to be. It's not like like I said, the science behind it is complicated and unclear. Again, when it looked promising, the FDA said, okay, we will approve this as a treatment potentially for COVID-19 patients. And then the FDA went back and said, no, it doesn't look like that's really working and that there are a lot of risks involved. We're not going to approve this as a treatment. But some doctors were using it and seeing promising results. So what this press conference was about was these doctors came out and said, we have seen positive results for our patients. We are advocating for the use of this drug to be able to treat COVID-19 patients, and we think that its use should be less restricted, right? And again, this is going on in the midst of, there are a bunch of studies still going on about the use of this drug to treat COVID-19 because it's a novel virus. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going to work in this situation. And luckily with this drug, it is very, very cheap. So people are very hopeful that it would be a good cure for COVID-19 for people who are, looking at being on ventilators and suffering greatly, right? So these doctors held this press conference, right? This video starts going viral.
Right? Was this in D.C. that they had the press conference?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I saw like a Breitbart version of this video go out. Donald Trump Jr. Said that this video is a must-watch thing and retweeted the video. And it kind of went a bit viral. And Twitter and Facebook shut it down. They said, nope, we cannot. I think Donald Trump tweeted it too. They said, we can't put this out. This is COVID-19 misinformation.
Donald Trump said that, or Twitter and
Twitter
Facebook
and
said
Facebook.
that? Okay.
Twitter and Facebook took down the video. They said if you shared the video, they took it right down, and your account could be. And I don't like that. Now, the reason why we're talking about the alien DNA and sex with witches and stuff, though, just because that's gotten mixed up in it, is there is a doctor. Her name is Dr. Stella Emanuel, and she was one of the women speaking. She's a black woman. She's from, I believe she's from Nigeria, and she's a doctor. She says she has treated over 300 patients with this drug and saw none of them die. Right. So in her experience, this drug seemed to be effective to the extent that none of her patients who were treated had died.
And when she says none of them have died, just to be clear, I'm not sure if you know or not, does she mean none of them have died from taking the drug, or none of them have died from COVID as a result of taking the drug?
None of them have died in the process of treatment. That while she was treating them with this drug, none of them died from COVID. And now, I don't know if she followed up afterwards to see what happened. I have no idea. But she came out and she said, none of those folks died. And she's saying that, in fact, and this is partially why Twitter and Facebook took it down, in fact, because we have this cure, we don't need to worry about this. This isn't a dangerous disease, and that no one needs to wear masks. And, it's fine because we have this ability to cure folks. She said, hello, you don't need a mask, there's a cure. Which is interesting because she apparently wears masks at work and requires her patients to wear a mask, but so it's interesting that she would say that. Now, the reason why people are saying this other stuff is because she has some unorthodox beliefs about some parts of medicine and treatment. So among them, which are really interesting, is so she's a religious minister in addition to being a doctor. Nothing wrong with that. But she says that gynecological problems like cysts are caused by people having sex in their dreams with demons and witches. So yeah, I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, I actually, so I read some of her transcripts because she talked about this in sermons as well, and it doesn't sound like a joke. Like it sounds like this is something that she's incorporated because she has a prayer on her website to help people not have cysts from having sex with demons in their dreams, and some other stuff like that.
Yeah. So again, there are plenty of wonderful doctors who are Christians and all sorts of other religions who are great. I get a bit skeptical when someone says that your sexual health problems are caused by demon sperm, which is, I'm not making that up. I'm not trying to be funny, although I get it.
It is comical, and I've seen many demon sperm memes circulating the internet in the last 24 hours.
No, it's trending. And yeah, that's one of those things I did not expect that to be part of 2020, but here we are.
It's not even August yet.
I know. There's still time for the world to get more interesting. So again, she's talking about incubus and succubi and all this stuff that maybe not so medically accepted anymore, and that's why people are criticizing. But we'll talk about this, I guess, afterwards too. And how do we evaluate situations like this?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, how do we can we separate these things? And should we separate them? Should we be looking at her analysis as a whole and encompass this other stuff? Or should we just be taking small sections of what she's saying and analyze some of it, but not all of it? I think that's a worthwhile discussion. So we're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about alien DNA and sex with demons and witches and how that relates to COVID-19. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Twice the power.
WYSL.
More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for today. We'll have a few clouds this morning. There might be a brief shower. Then we'll get some breaks of sun. It will turn a little more humid today. Then we got to keep an eye to the sky this afternoon. There could be a pop-up strong to locally severe thunderstorm during the afternoon hours. Temps today, low 80s, turning partly cloudy in the 60s tonight. Tomorrow, sun and clouds, scattered shower or storm in the 70s and 80s. I'm Rich Caniglia, WYSL.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hi, Tom Hamilton here, President of Hamilton Wealth Management. This whole COVID-19 situation can really kick us hard when we're already down. I've been a financial advisor for nearly a quarter century, and I have to say this is the most difficult economic crisis I've ever seen. But how do you think Americans felt during the Depression, during the two world wars, when the financial markets collapsed in 2008? I can tell you how they felt. They were devastated and felt hopeless, just how we feel now. But you know what? Each time when the future looked so bleak, America recovered, the world recovered, and I have to add, the markets recovered. I believe with all my being that America will come back from this too. Don't let the spreaders of fear and hopelessness turn us against each other. Help any business you can in the local community. They've been there for us for a long time. We want them back when this is over. Let's look out for each other. That's not the government's job, and they would most certainly screw it up if it was. It's up to me, to you, to all of us, to help each other through this. Get back to work when you can, and let's beat this thing.
FM Talk.
Here's an important announcement from the Livingston County Department of Health. Protect your family from COVID-19. The method of spreading coronavirus is from person to person. Since no vaccine exists, it's important to take common sense steps to protect yourself and others. Avoid unnecessarily leaving your home. Cough or sneeze into your arm, not your hand. Consider wearing a face mask in public. Although children under 2, those with trouble breathing, or those who cannot remove the mask by themselves should not wear one. Maintain social distancing, at least 6 feet away from other people. Wash your hands frequently. Don't touch your face. Clean and disinfect frequently handled surfaces. Call your doctor at once if you have any of the COVID-19 symptoms: a fever, cough, shortness of breath, heaviness on your chest, or trouble breathing. For more information about the coronavirus, Google Livingston County Department of Health and COVID-19 or call 243-7299.
An experienced professional with more than 15 years in dentistry, Dr. David Olivo welcomes new patients to his family practice at 2005 Lyle Avenue. At the office of Dr. Olivo, you'll discover a warm and comforting environment staffed by professionals who are committed to providing the best available dental care while assuring your complete comfort. Call 328-3382 for an appointment. Dr. David Olivo, offering quality dentistry with a gentle touch.
Eisen Rochester is a full-service ophthalmology office, and we specialize in general ophthalmology, taking care of people from childhood to adult and seniors. We do general eye exams. We specialize in cataract surgery, corneal surgery, and disease, as well as LASIK surgery. We also have a full-service optical shop and contact lens fitting service.
Visit Eyes on Rochester at 1157 Fairport Road.
Next time you have a chance to speak with your elected representative, ask, what are you doing? What have you done to protect our right to keep and bear arms? Check their voting records. We do. Brought to you by Monroe County Scope. Alive and well. Join us.
Smith Lumber and Hardware Center in Lakeville has your swimming pool and spa needs, featuring a wide selection of Clear Result pool chemicals, from clear tabs to multi-clear shock and more. Visit Smith Lumber and Hardware Center, Route 20A, Lakeville.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We've also got Kevin Wilson here with us, and we're talking about what you've probably seen circling the internet, Facebook, Twitter, probably Instagram, all over. You're seeing people talking about alien DNA and demon sperm. And no, Radio Free New York did not just jump off the deep end. This is actually a discussion that's going on right now. And it is because of this doctor's, and Kevin, help me out with her name. I don't have it.
Stella Emanuel.
Yeah, so Dr. Stella Emanuel's recent participation in supporting hydroxychloroquine as a COVID-19 cure, I guess, is the best way to put it. And go ahead.
Okay. I was just gonna say, a couple of comments that we did get from listeners about, do we steal Alex Jones' teleprompter, and we got Bill's attention and Matt's attention with this headline. But I'm looking at the situation. I'm seeing it's sensational, right? Like this is a strange situation, but I do want to point out that she wasn't the only doctor there. That there are other doctors there without all of this weird baggage. That comes with it, so I don't want to make it just about this doctor, because there are other doctors there who are saying that. But it's interesting to see some of the responses, because I'm seeing a lot of my friends who are, I think, very smart people, and they want this to be a cure. They're saying, like, look at this doctor. She is saying this stuff. Like, isn't this great? Like, why won't we listen to experts like her? And and point out, like, well, does she lose credibility because she says all this other strange stuff? And I think that's a good question for debate. Believing in sex problems caused by astral sex with witches and with demons, and believing reptilians run the government. Yes, that is all stuff she really believes. And
that's according to her, by the way. That's
according to her. Yeah, like
this is according to her.
She and I posted an article about it in the comments for those of you listening online, and you guys can check that out later. But this is her saying, and she actually, I found this article because she retweeted out and said, actually, this is a good explanation of what I believe. So that I'm not. This is her confirming that stuff. Yeah. And again, what's interesting about this situation too is how her race ends up getting weaponized too by some folks who are like, well, why is the left criticizing like this expert? She's a doctor. She's a black woman. Is it being racist to undercut her credibility? And I don't play that game. No, if she has strange stuff, we evaluate like the whole person and what she's saying. And I want to look at specifically to like, does the claim that she's saying, and some of these other doctors are saying, does that make sense, right? And I think it's really important for us to depoliticize like our set of facts, because we live in an age, Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, everyone, like they latch on to a set of truths that is convenient for the worldview that they want to have. There's a confirmation bias. Oh, a doctor says this thing that I want to believe, so therefore it must be true. But you've got to kind of evaluate that stuff on its own merits.
Yeah, and I think this brings up like a really important discussion too. I mean, we already talked about politics becoming the determining factor as to whether or not people believe things are true. So, oh, I support Trump, therefore this thing must be true, or I support Biden or whoever else, therefore it must be false, which really doesn't pass any type of like scientific, there has to be a little more than that, And I think I think this situation with this doctor in particular has shown us a few things. One, I'm seeing people lashing out on Facebook in kind of a strange way because they want to support her statements, and they're saying, well, people just disagree with her because she's a woman. People just disagree with her because she's black. And it's like, whoa, like, no, I don't think that's particularly why people disagree with her. And I could be wrong. Maybe there's somebody sitting there that's saying she's a black woman, so I'm just not going to trust her. That's probably possible, but I don't think that's the general population by any means. So it begs the question, could somebody still be right and still be correct while having some of these beliefs that I would go out on a limb and say they're generally not accepted, and I don't know that there's any scientific research out there that would suggest that some of these things are even plausible, these other things that she believes. Does that hurt her credibility? And does that put you in a situation where you should discard everything else that she believes and everything else she says? Or should people be taking this on a case-by-case basis, giving her the benefit of the doubt, and saying, well, some of these things I really think she's off base here. However, some of these other things maybe I can agree with, and it looks like there's evidence for this.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of what I'd rather do. There's a good discussion among well-meaning friends who are talking about this stuff to say, like, again, let's forget about this stuff. Let's forget about what some of our other beliefs, and let's just talk about the evidence. And I think there's some suggestion to say that she's probably still wrong, that the sample size is too small to draw a definitive conclusion from, right? And so there's a doctor I follow who's a libertarian guy, Dr. Varner, which I got to get that guy on this show sometime. I got to ask.
Yeah, bring him on.
But he's a doctor out in Washington treating COVID-19 patients. I've been following him on a lot of this stuff, and he was one of those guys, like, early on. He's like, hey, look, this drug is really promising. Like, I hope it goes somewhere. And he was looking at all the studies, but he's looking at it now, and he's like, maybe this ain't it. Like, I wanted it to be it. I wanted it to be it, but it looks like that this isn't what it is. And he draws a really interesting analogy to say, like, imagine you're sitting on a jury and you have 5 witnesses who say that the defendant committed this crime, right? That seems like really good evidence. You have these 5 people who are telling you, yeah, it's definitely that guy. But then say a video comes out and that video clearly shows someone else committing that crime. Now, that anecdotal, that story evidence, that witness evidence seemed really good for a while, and you should follow that. But when you have this other evidence come out to say, no, it's those people were mistaken, or they weren't getting the whole story, do you believe that video evidence? And he compares the trials for this to that type of situation. If you're on a jury, you've got to say, well, no, if a video evidence clearly shows someone else committing that crime, then yeah, you've got to acquit that person. Now, in this situation, you say, okay, we have anecdotal evidence supporting that this medicine helps people, but we now have all these other studies that say, well, it doesn't really help people as much as we initially thought it did, and it causes some other problems, so maybe it's not worth it. Where do you go?
Yeah, and I think something else worth discussing here as well is just making sure that when people make claims like this, that we look at kind of an accepted way to analyze this scientifically. And I'll just throw out something like really brief. Like we've been talking a lot about the death rates in general, and how now that more and more data has come in, the death rate for COVID-19 is pretty small. So when you have such a small pool, 300 or 350 people, at even 3%, which I think in some areas it's less than 1%, you kind of have to be more specific. Like, are those 300 people high risk people who are statistically significantly higher to die, or were those 300 some people extremely low risk people, like I would say 96% of the population who's gotten it, that have simply got it, sometimes not even known that they had it, and gotten better without any intervention at all. So when I hear these sort of claims, and I'm not saying one way or another whether she's right or not, but I become very skeptical of anything that has such a small number to just look at to make a determining factor like that.
Yeah, and to me, this is why we shouldn't have one-size-fits-all government solutions. The FDA shouldn't go and say, yes, definitely use this drug, or no, definitely don't use this drug. Like, I think we need to continue talking about it, right? And I get wary when, like Twitter and Facebook shut down things like this. I do worry about that type of stuff, because we do need to keep talking about this. We do need to figure it out, but we need to look at this data objectively and not tie it to what we want to believe or what our political heroes believe. We've got to get away from that. That is dangerous turf.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, guys, we are going to take our last break of the hour here. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we're better together, and together, we're moving business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A-plus Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We've got Kevin Wilson on the phone. I asked Kevin, what do you want to talk about in the last segment? Kevin says he just hasn't had enough opportunity to complain about the National Defense Authorization Act. So let's talk about it.
Yeah. So the NDAA, which is just a big budget bill that includes all of our defense spending, got passed last week, and so we're talking about trillions of dollars, or hundreds of billions of dollars, not quite trillions in 1 year, but hundreds of billions of dollars in spending to support all aspects of our defense system. So all the Pentagon spending, all the branches of the military, it's all there. Now, it's not unusual to do that, but there were two amendments that I thought were pretty good, and I thought we should pass. And I feel like we haven't complained about them enough because I'm mad about them. All right.
About the good ones?
Two amendments. Two good amendments. I'm mad that they didn't pass.
Okay, that they didn't pass. Okay, yeah, what are they?
Yeah. So, number one, there was an amendment to cut defense spending by 10%. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Oh, man, 10%. That's a pretty big number, right? Well, here's the thing. Cutting defense spending by 10% puts our defense spending back between 2016 and 2017 levels. It ain't actually all that much. Cutting it 10% ain't like sending us back to the 1990s like, I would kind of prefer. But no, we're cutting it 10%, just a little bit, just slowing down the increase of defense spending. And again, to give you an idea of what we're talking about in terms of numbers here, 2017, we were spending $605 billion on defense, 3% of GDP. 2016, we're spending $600.11 billion, 3.21% of GDP. It would send it back to those numbers. We are deep into the $700 billion range right now with defense spending for the 2021 bill. This would have sent it back just a couple of years, just a little bit, to get back down to a little more reasonable levels. That's it. That's all we had to do. 10%. Our government spending is totally out of control. And on top of that, not only did we massively increase defense spending last year and this year, the Republicans in the Senate want to add more defense spending onto that, paying for the largely failed F-35 program, attack helicopters, and other defense appropriations in the latest coronavirus relief bill. Again, billions of dollars in the coronavirus relief bill called the HEALS Act. Hard to oppose the HEALS Act, right? That sounds so nice. Sounds like it's going to heal us as a nation.
But no. Kevin, I'm thinking here as you say this, that what better way to fight COVID-19 than with attack helicopters?
Well, Andrew, I think we need to clear up something for our listeners. We will not be getting the attack helicopters. If they were sending one to you and me, okay.
Sure,
all right, maybe
yeah.
I'd be on board.
I think every American should have their own attack helicopter to defend against COVID-19. I mean, I heard from Andrew Cuomo himself that we are waging a war against this virus. I want to be properly suited to fight this war.
That's a fair point. But and so I would say that we need to make sure that we let our senators know that if we're not personally getting attack helicopters to fight the war on COVID-19, then this is not a bill worth passing.
I agree.
I think
I'm going to call them right now.
That's the real point. If we're going to spend trillions of dollars, we might as well all get attack helicopters. I'm just saying that's that's where we got to be.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so I got you. I kind of steered you off track here. I'll let you.
No. That is exactly the level of on track that I wanted for this discussion. No, because I just to kind of put the point on the head. I was frustrated that the House passed that bill. I was frustrated that the Congressman Morelli voted against it, and a lot of other fiscal conservatives voted against it. Of course, Libertarian Congressman Amash, voted for that 10% cut. I think maybe Thomas Massey did too, but not a lot of Republicans did. But between that amendment that made a lot of sense to me and this bill coming out of the Senate, I think fiscal conservatism in the Republican Party is dead. It's been dead for a while, but this kind of reinforces a point that we already knew, that neither the Republicans nor Democrats have any desire to get our $26 trillion federal debt under control, and they are not taking this seriously. And goodness, I don't even know what to do about it anymore. It's such an insane amount of money. It's so out of control. How do we even start reversing this?
Yeah. Well, I know the answer. It's just nobody seems to be willing to stand up and actually do it, which is they've got to cut spending. And this amendment right here is a perfect example of them not being willing to cut spending. And I will tell you for sure, I can guarantee you, the Democrats and Republicans who voted against this will immediately fall back on safety and say, well, we need the country safe. And every time elected officials use the word safety, it is always attached to more money out of your wallet and more restrictions. And that's exactly what we're going to see here.
It is. That's the way it scares. I mean, you'll get the Democrats to be like, oh, we could just tax the rich. And, if we just tax the rich more, that's going to fix everything. Guys, no, it ain't. It can't. We could steal all of the wealth of the top 1%, and it would barely cover operations for our government for a few months. Yeah. It ain't gonna work, guys. It's not gonna be effective. We can't tax our way out of this. We have to cut spending. We have to stop spending on a deficit year after year after year at an accelerating pace, oftentimes.
Yeah, I'll never forget that image I saw on the internet that was like, raising the deficit is just like having sewage in your home that fills up to the top, and you go, instead of draining this, why don't we just raise the roof a few more feet? Let's get 3 or 4 more feet of this sewage in our house. It's got to go.
Yeah, no, you gotta stop the entire problem. Not let's slow it down slightly. No, we gotta stop it. We've got to reverse it. We've got to start getting that sewage out of here. We have so much debt, and we're spending billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars on servicing that debt. It's very expensive just to have it. It's become its own significant line item just to pay for the interest on that debt, and that's at historically low interest rates. What happens if it goes up? We can't keep doing it. Anyway, so that was the other thing that I want to complain about, and I might have already done this already, but it's worth mentioning again, that there was an amendment to bring the troops home from Afghanistan quicker. We've been in Afghanistan 19 years. There's an amendment to bring them home. And it ended up failing in the House, 129 to 284. Of course, again, the Republicans didn't vote for. A handful of Democrats did, not including, many of our local members of Congress did not vote for this amendment. We had an opportunity.
The Afghanistan papers coming out. I mean, the evidence showing that we haven't been effective over there.
Haven't been effective. We don't know what they're doing, but a lot of people are saying, well, we don't want to tie the hands of the president. No, we have to set a timeline to come home. We know this isn't working. We know the just tell the president, no, we need to come home, and you need to set some timelines for when this is happening. And that's what this bill did. It just said, all right, we're going to actually set some time to get out of here. We need to get out of this 19-year war.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on Radio Free New York. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow.
Springwater Amish Workshop, your summer sweet spot. We have a fine selection of outdoor furniture items that'll make your outdoor living a delight to the eye, comfortable and worry-free.